Ladies and gentlemen, my friends, from Lead Solo, we got Drew, hello Drew, and Ingrid Hernandez, and my very good buddy, Jerry Norton.
I'm living in that 21st century, doing something mean to it.
Recently had the opportunity to call sellers live at Pace Morby and Jamil Damji's annual Squad Up Summit in Dallas, Texas, in front of an audience of 3,500 people with no prep and not knowing beforehand who we would be calling, what their situation was, or even what markets they were in. Me, Jamil, and Ingrid Hernandez called sellers live.
Guys, who would be nervous to make a cold call in front of 3,500 people? Who wouldn't be nervous to make a phone call in front? All right, can we switch? I'm playing. All right, are you guys ready?
Just so you guys know, I play prison rules.
What is that?
It's
No, I don't want to know.
you might get hurt.
No, really?
I'm here to help you.
Okay, that's what they say in prison. Right before they help themselves.
You guys okay if I try one more?
Hit it.
Yeah. Keep going, Jerry. Let's go. That's what you told Anne Marie.
Just one more.
Just one more.
Now, as you can see, we were having fun, which is what this business should be all about. But on one of the dials, I got a hold of a seller. We had a great conversation, and I ended up making a cash offer over $200,000 lower than his original asking price. Wait to see how he responded. So on this video, I'm going to actually break down my own call and explain what I did and why I did it. This will be a valuable training on how to get better talking to sellers and making offers. Now, before we cut to the call, let me give some context to the leads we were calling. These were what we call pay per lead, or PPL. PPL is a marketing channel where a lead provider, in this case Lead Solo, does some form of marketing to distressed sellers, gets the lead, verifies it's a legit seller, and then provides that lead to an online open marketplace for sale. Essentially, PPL is where you can buy ready-to-go sellers, where you literally call and negotiate and make offers. Now, this is significant because the way you start the conversation is going to vary a bit from cold calling and other types of marketing. Now, the way I start the conversation with PPL leads is I assume that they want to sell. I mean, that's the point of PPL, leads that have self-identified as motivated sellers or at least distressed sellers. So knowing that, I'll usually start the conversation by saying something like, "Hi, this is Jerry Norton. I'm calling for so-and-so. I believe you filled out a form or you talked to my associate. Are you still looking to sell your house on 123 Main Street?" Now, when they say, "Yes, I'm still looking to sell my house," I don't do what most people do, which is to move into the details about the property. I don't say, "Okay, good. Can you tell me a little bit about the property?" That's what everybody else does. I could care less about the condition or the details of the property. Instead, I take a different approach. So let's cut to the intro with the seller, and I want you to listen for the question I ask the seller after he verifies that he wants to sell. Yes, hi. I'm calling for Sharon White.
She's not available right now. It's her son.
Oh, great. Nice to meet you. My name's Jerry. I believe she's looking to sell a property on Clay Street. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, I'm acting on her behalf.
Okay, great.
She's in a rehabilitation and getting ready to go into the nursing home, and so we need to start looking at doing something with her house. And I saw some advertisement of yours, and I was like, well, we're getting ready we're having an estate sale here just coming up, and this month in April, and then we were going to list it with a real estate agent, and I was like, well, let me check into this too, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's good to have lots of options. What was your name, sir?
Yeah.
Jeff. Well, Jeff, let me ask you, do you have a price in mind that you were hoping to get for this property? Okay, so to recap, the mom is elderly and she's moving into a nursing home, and the son, Jeff, is helping mom sell the house. Now, Jeff has done his homework. He's talked to an agent. He knows the value of his home. He knows his options and would like to explore a cash offer. Now, did you catch what I asked Jeff not even 60 seconds into the call? Well, Jeff, let me ask you, do you have a price in mind that you were hoping to get for this property? Do you have a price in mind that you're hoping to get for the property? I went straight to price. I actually learned this technique from my good friend and pro wholesaler, RJ Bates, who's a master at PPL leads. Now, most wholesalers avoid price. It scares them to death. They think that they need to build rapport first. But there are a few reasons why I like to go right to price with PPL leads. First of all, remember the nature of the situation. They filled out a form that they want to sell their house for cash. That puts you in the driver's seat. Whoever gets to say, what price do you want, is in control of the conversation and instantly commands authority. Second, it addresses the elephant in the room right away. I want to know what I'm dealing with and if it's a waste of time. I want to know, are they realistic about a cash offer, or are they stuck in la-la land wanting a retail price? This allows me an opportunity to educate the seller on the difference between a cash offer and a retail offer. So listen to his response to price. Well, Jeff, let me ask you, do you have a price in mind that you were hoping to get for this property?
Well, the listing agent that we were thinking about using kind of came in just right under 5.
Okay.
In that 490s price range. So then I guess you got to take into account that he's going to be taking his 6%.
Yep.
You know, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Gotcha. So it sounds like you've thought this through. So as is typical, his price he had in mind was the list price an agent told him, which is $500,000. Now, obviously, I can't pay anywhere near $500,000, at least not with all cash. But let me ask you, is that his bottom line? In other words, is $500,000 really his number, or would he take less? Now, some would end the call and chalk it up to a not motivated seller and they'd move on. But I haven't done my job yet, which is to find out what the seller's real number is. You see, price is often a deceiver, meaning the number a seller initially gives you is not always the price that they will ultimately accept. Your job is to find that out. So now listen to how I educate the seller on the difference between retail with an agent and cash with an investor. You know, listing the property with an agent is going to get you the highest price the market will pay, right?
Sure.
I mean, even considering commissions and closing fees, you'll probably still get the highest number because you're going to get maximum exposure.
Right.
Someone like me, I'm an investor, which means I need to get somewhat of a discount, right? So that I could do something with it and flip it or make or rent it or do something.
Oh, I understand.
Okay.
You gotta interrupt things. I don't know. Are you able to look at the property?
Certainly, but it sounds like you've got an idea of current value. I guess where I bring value would be, unlike an agent where you'll have to be on market, you'll have showings, inspections, probably a buyer that wants to get a mortgage. You'll probably have to fix some things. You'll have to clean it up. You'll have to show, all the things, right? It takes time.
Yeah.
But you'll get more money.
You don't want to do any of that.
Okay.
There's definitely inside and also outside needs, the furnace is old, the water heater's old. It's lath and plaster upstairs.
Yeah, let me ask you this. Here's the question I think that you need to consider. Do you want to take the time and go through all the work and effort to get the highest price the market will pay? Or do you want the speed and convenience of a cash offer and be done quick? It's as is. You don't have to do anything. We close in 2 weeks or whenever you want.
Right. That's
Okay.
what we're more
Okay.
interested in. I just recognize that, there's a lot of things wrong with this house. If someone does need to take a mortgage, and that's highly likely, right? They're going to have an inspection.
No, but it sounds like you're going to attract investors anyway.
I think that's what we're going to do
Right.
anyways. I think someone, and even the real estate agent said, I have 4 or 5 people, as soon as you list
Yep.
this with me, that we're going to want to come in and just look at this real quickly. And they're going to go, as is, I'm going to give you this price,
Yeah. Now, some very important things happened in that segment. First, I agreed with him that his approach to list the property with an agent would probably get him the highest price the market would pay. But then I challenged if the trade-off was worth it, because listing it would mean that he'd have to clean it, he'd have to fix it, he'd have to have showings, inspections, appraisals, and it'll take a whole lot longer to do all of that. Now, he wanted to focus on the property itself, not the mindset around cash versus retail. He asked me, are you able to see the property? Which I diverted back to focusing on the difference. And notice after I pointed out all the downside to listing it, he said, I don't want to do any of that. So I said, are you looking for the speed and convenience of an as-is cash offer? And he said that that was what he was looking for. So now that I've identified that he wants a cash offer, my next move is what I call the low anchor. So take a listen and then we'll discuss what it means to anchor low. I mean, this is right up our alley. Like, this is exactly the type of property that we look for, and I think we could be that solution you're looking for. We are going to be quite a bit off of that number you have in mind right now. That's usually the trade-off, though, for that speed and convenience of that all-cash offer.
Yeah.
Right?
Can't hurt to hear your offer. And
have you gotten any other offers yet from investors?
No.
Okay. If they call, hang up. Don't talk to them.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm just teasing. I love that you're looking at all your options. That's really smart to make a really informed decision. I mean, honestly, I think I would need to be in the high 2s for this to work. So notice I said that I would need to be in the high 200s. Now, there are a few rules I follow when doing the low anchor. First, it's a ballpark offer, not a concrete offer. I did not say the most I can pay is $285,000. I want to be vague because I need the ability to come up from that low anchor. Rule number 2 for the anchor to work is it needs to be ridiculously low. This gives you room to come up some and still get a great deal. And the third rule that the anchor needs is to solicit a no. If the seller doesn't say no, you didn't anchor low enough. A quick side note here, don't give the anchor unless you first establish a connection with the seller. Now, I call this building a relationship of trust, or BRT for short. If you haven't established trust, your anchor will be offensive. So now let's listen to the seller's response and how I handled it. I mean, honestly, I think I would need to be in the high 2s for this to work.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to work for us. I think that's way off.
That's my offer, like in the perfect world.
Yeah.
But how close to that could you get?
I think we're probably, I'm thinking in the mid 3s for an investor, and
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So he said, I can't go that low, which is exactly the response I was expecting. Now, did you catch what I said? I said, well, that's my price in the perfect world, but how close to that can you get? Did you hear his response? He said, well, I was hoping to be in the mid 300s for a cash offer. Without me even asking, he negotiated against himself and dropped his price $150,000. Now I'm getting to the real number. I'm just make sure I understand. I don't know if I can do this, but let me make sure I'm understanding. You're saying for an offer like that, you would be open to 350.
Well, I don't. I am open to it. I'm going to have to also sell that idea to
Mom.
2 siblings and a mom.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm the head, and I'm the oldest, and I'm also her executor. So.
Okay. So who cares what they think?
Yeah. Well, no. I'm gonna. Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit. I mean, let's be real. Who cares what they think? No, I'm just kidding. You want to keep the harmony in the family for sure.
Yeah. For mid 3s, I might buy it. Probably flip it into the sell for mid 5s.
Have you ever rehabbed a house? Have you ever rehabbed? I do it for a living. I would not recommend it. I should have been a doctor or something else. Working with contractors? Oh my gosh, you think it's one price, it's another price, and it goes on and on and on.
I've been there, yeah. I've renovated and flipped.
So you know.
Keep saying I'm not going to do it, and then I go ahead and buy a rental property, and here I am,
And that's brain damage, right? Owning rental properties?
Yeah.
Now notice he said, for $350, I might buy it. Now, I love when sellers and agents say that. There is no way he wants to rehab this house, and the family would hate him anyways if he buys it and flips it and makes a profit on mom. Can you imagine how that would go down? So I challenged him, and I talked about how hard it is to rehab houses. And one thing that I hope you noticed is I verified that he was real at $350,000 and not BSing me, which he responded that he was, but he had to get his family on board at that $350,000, but that he was the decision maker. Okay, so where do we go from here? Well, I really wanted to be in the low 300s with a hard stop at 325. But remember, I haven't seen the property, nor do I have any idea of the condition. Maybe 350 is still a good deal. So how I handled this next part is very important. Take a listen. Here's how I would like to do this. I mean, I really would like to be lower than that 350 number. I might be able to make that number work, but here's what I'd have to do. We'd have to have an agreement in place because I couldn't put a bunch of time and effort into really dialing in that value and the cost for the rehab and all of that. unless we have an agreement in place. So we would have an agreement in place. We'd have a small window of contingency. That would be for me to do due diligence. I'd get out there with my partners, my investors, my contractors. We'd run all the numbers. We'd make sure we really feel good about it. If we do, then we go hard on our earnest money, right? We put earnest money down, and then we close when it's time to close. If not, if for some reason there's a foundation issue or who knows, right? If the numbers just aren't penciling, I would let you know right away, and we could readdress the whole thing. We could either, terminate our agreement and you could sell it to somebody else, or we could readjust the price, whatever would need to happen. But that would be the appropriate path forward right now for us to try to get something done.
Sure, I get it.
Yeah, does that make sense?
So, you bet. So, you're an option for me. Good to know. I'm going to have to bring this to family and see what they think.
Would it be helpful if we sat down with you and the siblings?
I think we're okay,
Okay.
Or I'm okay with all this.
So what did I just do? I was fully transparent with him that I wasn't 100% sure that 350 would work, and the only way to find out for sure would be to get an agreement in place with some due diligence, and then I'd dig into it. I reassured him that if 350 didn't work for any reason, I'd let him know right away. Now, what I just did right there is morally, ethically, and the only honest way to lock up a deal sight unseen, because I'm being totally upfront about the process and the next steps. And I can't possibly do the right due diligence without first having a contract in place. Now, when I asked him if that made sense, he said, yes, it does, and he would sit down with the family to discuss. At the end of the call, I took one last opportunity to reaffirm with the seller that I'm the real deal and that he can count on me. Take a listen. I do want to tell you, I am a real buyer. There are a lot of people that, I call it sling mud at the wall, and they just kind of fish at stuff and don't actually perform. I've got a history of doing this for 20 years. I'll put down earnest money. I'll show you the cash is available. Like when I say I can buy it cash, I mean I can buy it cash.
Right.
And if you get other offers, which I highly recommend you do, I would just make sure you legitimize those buyers, right? Make sure that they're legit buyers. But I perform. That's the difference.
Good. Well,
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, this is my cell phone. You can text me back.
Would it be appropriate to follow up with you in like a day or two after you've talked to the family?
Give me the Monday.
Okay.
Monday, Tuesday. Let's do Tuesday.
Okay. We'll follow up with you. If you could take some time this weekend and sit down with the family and explain to them what we talked about. If it makes sense for everybody, let's put something together and move forward.
Sounds good.
Appreciate you. It was really great talking with you, Jeff.
Nice talking with you too. Take
Okay.
care.
Take care. Bye.
You guys think he's done this before? Wow.
That was smooth.
Okay, so I'm still in communication with Jeff. We'll see in time with follow-up if we can get the deal done. Now, if you thought this call breakdown was helpful, leave a comment and say, thank you, Jerry. You are a flipping genius. And by the way, if you'd like to get my seller scripts for free, just go to freesellerscripts.com for the free download. And I got to tell you, I love PPL leads. It's one of my favorite marketing channels. We recently closed a $50,000 wholesale deal from a PPL lead. Now, if you'd like to learn more about how to succeed with PPL, I'll put a link to a video in the description below for you. And if you'd like to hear the commentary and the discussion about my call that we had at Squad Up Summit live with the audience, then keep watching and I'll see you on the next video.
Brother. Okay, there's so much I want to unpack there. That call was incredible. Right off the bat, you guys remember what number he came out with right out the gate? 490, 500. And negotiated himself down to 350. I just want you guys to understand that, like, the implications of $140,000 self-negotiation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right?
Go for no.
Yeah.
I mean, I anchored ridiculously low.
And guys, let's also think about it. When we're in those situations and we're having those phone calls, sometimes we get scared to say that low number, right? We think, oh my God, they're not going to want to talk to me. I'm going to waste the lead. The lead costs a few $100s. And this is the problem. This is where we get ourselves into an issue because we're not being transparent with A, our seller, or B, ourselves with what we're really wanting. And so what Jerry does is he anchored low. He anchored in the high twos. Now that would be a hard number to get out of your mouth when somebody says, I want 500 for my home. And you're like, I'd need to be in the high twos. Like he said that's why Jerry has 10 kids, because he has big balls. Sorry, I had to tell you guys what she said. That was too good.
What do you want for your house? Is a great question.
And I asked him that in the first 30 seconds.
Right.
Because remember, guys, it's the nature of the lead. These are people that raise their hands, so it's appropriate to say, oh, you want to sell your house? Well, how much do you want for it? People try to hide from price. I get it out of the way right out of the gate.
It's just like Ingrid, where they're talking about a $500,000 house. Well, he was listed at $575 months ago. He wants $575, but he's now learning that that's not a realistic expectation for him. So now he's going, oh crap, I've sat on the MLS, I'm moving. What am I gonna have to hold 2 mortgages? Am I gonna have to pay taxes in 2 different places? What's going on here? So now he's motivated, right? And that's why it's an easy conversation to go, well, how about 500, right?
And part of my discovery was trying to figure out, is he retail or is he cash?
Right.
So I had to paint a picture and say, okay, this is what retail looks like. Here's what you're gonna have to go through to get retail. All of this drama, listing it, inspections, I went through the whole thing. Or the speed and convenience of a cash offer, that's a different thing. Which one are you? And he self-identified as, I don't want to do all that. Remember, did you guys hear me? He said, I don't want to do all that. Okay, we're talking about it. Now I know what we're talking about here.
Yeah, and in a less than 10-minute conversation, we're at 350. Like, come on, that's awesome.
It really is incredible, and I think about, the logistics of us running these businesses, right? The reality is how many of us in here have a W-2 that we go to in the middle, most of the week? Great. So there's quite a few of us in here that do that. And so we have a compressed amount of time in the middle of the day. Let's just be honest. When we're building our dream, we do that in the off time. And so wouldn't it make sense that when you're building the dream and you're working on the off time that you have a compressed number of leads to have to call through? Because if you're doing this and you're trying to get that parachute deal, that deal that gets you out of the W-2 rat race, that deal that gets you that $50,000 or $60,000, and where you can start to feel like you can actually get to that next level, you need to be able to do that in an amount of time that you have available. And so what would you say when you're doing a pay-per-lead type of situation, what are the key indicators, or what are the key things that we need to keep in mind? Speed to the dial is incredibly important.
Hands down, it's speed to the dial.
So they fill out the form, the lead comes into my phone. How much time do I have to mine that lead before they're filling out the next form and talking to the next person?
The close percentage drops on a live lead after the first 60 seconds.
What?
Right? So after, I believe the statistic is after 13 minutes, you have a 50% less likely chance of closing a deal.
Guys, but I got like 10 right here. Should I just go back and
You
start
should.
calling? Okay.
We all should. So it's crazy to think, and the reason is they're distressed. And so they're not just responding to one ad. They didn't just fill out an ad and kick their feet up and go, oh, I found the solution to my 4-year problem. Hell no, right? They filled out that form, and now they're stressing out, and now they're researching, and what is a cash offer, and who does cash offers? Do I know somebody who does a cash offer? 20 minutes later, now they're talking to their cousin Vinny about his brother who's gonna do whatever for them. And they just move quick because they're in pain. And so it's really important is speed, right? Get there, build rapport. My gosh, this was a masterclass in minutes, right? Of building rapport and going, oh yeah, I can help you. I know exactly what you're going through. Both of them immediately with authority and just like being right there. And
Humor, I try to use a lot of
Same.
humor.
A lot of humor. You were super
Ingrid
logical. You just identified your archetype so quick and went super logical. You went like humorous and you poked a little bit and then were super kind and came back. Like that's what's important for any lead, really, especially PPL leads, because they're genuine. They're raising their hands and going, I'm in pain. I need help.
One thing, too, I'll point out is, I hope you guys caught this, but when I'm doing PPL, I haven't seen condition. I mean, he basically painted a house that needs everything.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm guessing it needs everything. And so, but I don't really know what's going on because I haven't seen it. So what I want to do is I want to set up proper expectations. And I'd really like to be at 300. We're sort of stuck at 350. But I'm not going to do due diligence before what?
Contract.
Before a contract.
That's right.
Cardinal sin number
Trade
1.
down. Just kidding.
Yeah, but I don't also want to contract and have false expectations, and he's packing the U-Haul thinking I'm buying.
Yep.
So I was very clear.
Broken foundation.
I'm going to do due diligence. If I find something that makes this not work, I'm going to tell you. But I'm not doing the work unless we have a written contract.
Yep.
And to me, that builds authority.
It builds
right?
authority.
And authority builds rapport. Like we talk about rapport like mirroring and using language, and that's very true, but who has the most rapport of anybody you deal with on a regular basis? Your lawyer, your doctor, and why? Because they know exactly, they know the answer before you ask the question, and they know the exact process that you need to go through.
Yeah.
So if you represent like that, you
Yeah.
have immediate authority, you have immediate rapport, and it becomes a pretty easy conversation.
When you have resources like me, right, saying my transaction coordinator is going to send you a contract, now he can see I'm actually running a business. This isn't a crapshoot.
Right.
So there's different ways to build authority.
And just so everybody knows, I am not sending him an offer, a written offer. Why?
Because you like to be the hot girl, and so you want him to come back to you.
Yes.
You gotta be chasing
And
it.
I'm not sending him my offer until he's ready to sign it, because
Yep.
what might he do with my
gonna
offer?
shop that
Shop
offer.
it.
Shop my offer.
Shop it.
So as we're wrapping up, Drew, I want the people in the audience right now to see, does pay-per lead speak to me? Is this the type of lead that I want to invest in to build my business? And so help me build the avatar. Who's the avatar for a pay-per lead situation in their business?
Paper lead just compresses time. That's what it does. So there's two avatars for that. There are people who don't have a lot of time and are looking to make a deal, right? I need to talk to somebody. I don't want to make 400 cold calls just to have a mediocre conversation. I'll pay a little bit of money and have some solid conversations really quickly. The other side of that, still kind of in compressing time, is I want to scale my operation. Like if there's anybody here looking to scale, they want to do more money next year than they did this year,
Woo woo!
right? There's a couple of ways to do that. You can double your entire team, if anybody has a team. You can double your team and do double next year maybe. Or you can double the efficiency of your team. And a good way to do that is through PPL, right? You're paying for us to basically do all the marketing, to pre-screen and make sure that the lead's legitimate so that your sales rep and yourself are talking to real people.
I'm a numbers guy, so here's the stats, guys. If you're halfway decent, you should close 1 out of 20. If you're spending $300 for a metro lead, a good metro market lead, that's what our average, around $300. You close 1 out of 20, you're spending $6,000. Who will spend $6,000 to make a $20,000 assignment, or $30,000? I will. Now, if you're good, you can get it down to 15. If you're really good, and a little bit of luck, you can get it down to 10, 1 in 10. So think about that. Will you spend $6,000 to get a deal? Raise your hand if you would. Now,
Absolutely.
If it's a $15,000 or higher deal, then everyone should have their hand
makes all the
raised.
sense in the world,
Makes all
yeah.
the sense in the world.
And if you're doing creative finance,
Oh,
to
that
me,
then
like,
you're
to me,
then
that's
you're
a
one,
wholesale
then you're 1 in
number
10
that you're
easy.
talking about.
Yeah, if you know how to structure creative finance, you're 1 in 10 all day.
Well, hey, we're going to be 100% after today
We're 2 for 2.
for 2 calls that were answered. And that's why it's important for you to know all the tools in that toolbox. Yeah. We're
Amazing.
going to do it?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Guys, give it up for these guys. Thank you so much, Drew. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Ingrid.
That was fun. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.